books or or true stories. So I'll find it for 2 minutes. Just wait right here. Okay.
This mama's baby bump never stopped growing, but you won't believe what doctors find. It all began in 2018 when 17-year-old Amanda found a guy she liked in school. His name was Tyler, and the two instantly hit it off and started dating. But after months of this, Amanda started noticing strange things happening to Tyler. He would disappear for days at a time, come to school with weird marks on his skin, and had a weird growth on his head that nobody could explain. Extremely worried, Amanda confronted him about this, but the day she did, he broke up with her. But later that week, she discovered that she was pregnant. And even though Tyler was gone, she decided to keep it. At first, the pregnancy was normal, but her stomach would not stop growing. At night, the baby would make strange growls and noises, and Amanda knew something wasn't right. So one day, she went to the doctor to get an ultrasound, but you won't believe what they found inside. Before we continue, I found a game where you can grow your own baby. Links in my bio if you want to try it too. They found a weird humanoid creature and ended up aborting it. This girl felt a strange itch inside her nose, but you won't believe what the doctors pulled out. Sylvia was a 17-year-old girl who was awoken in the middle of the night with severe pain in her forehead and nose. The pain was so severe that she decided to go to the emergency room. She then went to 3 other hospitals, but they all told her that she just has a bad sinus headache and that she should go back to bed. But she was in so much pain that she decided to go to a 4th hospital, and they started to look into it deeper. So the doctor took one look at her nose and was horrified with what he saw. Before I continue, I found a way you can erase anything from photos, and I mean literally anything. Press right here on my bio, but promise me you won't use it for bad. He saw that a cockroach was crawling up her nose and going into her brain. So he grabbed some tweezers and yanked it out of her nose, and when it came out, it was actually still alive. This is why you should never mess with a clown. One night, Jerry and Alex were having a sleepover and telling scary clown stories. After the stories, they fell asleep. Jerry woke up in the middle of the night and heard knocking at the door, so he decided to check it out. When he looked outside, there was a clown standing right in front of him. Jerry ran upstairs to tell Alex what he saw, but Alex didn't believe him. They both went downstairs, and when they got to the kitchen, they saw a trail of blood. They tried calling the police, but the line was cut. So the boys panicked and tried running for the door, but the door wouldn't open. Jerry and Alex slowly turned their heads, and they see the clown standing right behind them. Those boys were never seen ever again. This is why you should never trust a kid. This is Graham Young. He was nicknamed the Poisoner of England. At the young age of 8, he was so obsessed with poison that he started poisoning his family and friends. He would sneak the poison into their food and drinks, causing them to become violently ill. When Graham was 15, he poisoned his father's tea and his father died. Later that day, Graham was arrested and sentenced to 11 years in prison. This is why you should never bring an alligator on the plane. In 2010, a man snuck his pet alligator on the airplane in a sports bag. The alligator managed to escape from the sports bag and started making its way towards the passengers. Everybody panicked and started running towards the front of the plane to avoid the alligator. This caused the plane to become unbalanced and crash, ultimately killing everybody on board except for the alligator. This is the creepy story of the expressionless lady. In 1992, a woman appeared in the Cedars-Sinai Hospital wearing nothing but a white gown covered in blood. This was pretty normal for the hospital, but what really terrified them was she wasn't exactly human. She resembled something close to a mannequin, but moved fluidly like a human. She had a kitten clamped in her jaws, still squirting blood. She then ripped it out and threw it away. Then she passed out on the floor. The doctors took her to a hospital bed and restrained her. She didn't protest, but the second they tried to sedate her, she fought back with extreme force. 2 people tried to hold her down, but her body rose with a blank expression. She then turned and smiled. Her teeth were sharp like spikes. The doctor asked, "What are you?" She then lunged at him, sinking her sharp teeth into his throat. She leaned over his dying body and whispered, "I am God." She then left, and nobody saw her ever again. This is why you should never wear a scarf. In 1927, Isadora Duncan was traveling in her convertible when her extremely long scarf got caught in the tire. The scarf wrapped around her neck so tight that it strangled her to death. I'm gonna ruin your childhood. In the movie Toy Story, have you ever wondered why the toys can be alive? Well, it's because the toys are evil and feed off the joy of children. Molly got rid of Bo Peep, and Sid tortured the toys because they both knew the truth. This is why you should never go cave exploring. This is John Jones. He was an experienced cave explorer and he had a wife and kids. One day he decided to explore the famous Nutty Putty Cave. He knew the cave very well but ended up taking a wrong turn that would change his life forever. He became stuck upside down and he couldn't move. Over 100 rescuers tried pulling him out with no success. After 27 hours, John took his last breath, accepting the fact that he would never see his family ever again. This is why you should never trust a kid. This is 8-year-old Amarjeet Sada from India. In 2006, Amarjeet Sada murdered his 6-month-old sister. He even buried her in their own backyard. When he was confronted about it, he proudly admitted it, making him the youngest serial killer in the world. This is why you should never eat a slug. In 2010, a man named Sam Ballard was dared by his friends to eat a slug. Without any hesitation, Sam grabbed the slug and ate it. Little did he know, the slug gave him a parasite which caused him to become paralyzed and sick. He stayed this way for 8 years until the sickness became too much for him and he died. This is why you should never go hiking alone. In 2003, a man named Aaron Ralston went hiking alone in the Utah desert. While descending down a canyon crack, a boulder came loose and landed directly on his arm. Aaron quickly realized he was stuck and decided to ration his food and water for the next 5 days. On the 5th day, he decided to take out his pocket knife and sever his arm off to free him from the rock. He then climbed out of the 65-foot canyon and hiked 8 miles to civilization where he was saved. Signs you should never ignore. Number 1, being chased. This means that you're trying to avoid something in your everyday life. Number 2, falling or drowning. This is your subconscious telling you that things are way too out of control in your life. Number 3, flying. This means that you're ready to make a bold decision in life and head down a new path. Number 4, being lost. This is your any food or liquid in your body will leak out, causing a hole. Finding out what she did in the backseat of her car. The story begins in 2015 when Michelle drove her 3-year-old daughter Alyssa to dance class. She dropped off Alyssa and then walked to the nearest shopping mall to run some errands. But as she was waiting in line to buy something, she received a call from the dance studio, and by the tone of their voice, she knew something was very wrong. Michelle sprinted back but could not believe what she was seeing. She screamed and called 911, but before I tell you what happened, I found an app where you can prank your friends by changing their text messages. Links to my bio if you want to try too. The kids were playing with lighters in the back seat and set the car on fire. The firefighters came minutes later and thankfully nobody was hurt. This little girl went missing and 20 years later the police make a horrifying discovery. In 1995, 6-year-old Sophie went to school like normal, but that day she just never came home. Years went by and nobody knew what happened to the little girl. So her friends and family finally came to the realization that she was gone. Well, 20 years later, an anonymous letter was given to the police saying that the missing girl's family had a secret. Intrigued by the letter, the police rushed to the family's house. They showed them the letter and then asked to search their property. The family agreed, so they searched the house, but they just couldn't find anything. But on the way out, they saw something very peculiar. At the end of some stairs was a door that was padlocked shut, and when the family refused to open it, they broke it down and made a horrifying discovery. Part 2's on a new video sharing app called Clash. Press the link in my bio if you want to see what they found. This boy, who was supposed to be a version of himself. Everyone was shocked and to this day. This girl woke up with bruises every morning, but when her parents watched the security footage, they immediately called the police. Little Alyssa was just like any other 6-year-old girl. But one morning, Alyssa woke up with bruises on her body and this steadily got worse for weeks. It got so bad that she couldn't go out in public without people thinking she was being abused. But since they had no evidence, they released their parents, but they needed to find out what was going on. So that night, her dad set up a secret security camera in her room. But the next day, she came down with new bruises on her body, so her dad checked the security footage. Before I show you, I found a way you can go live with under 1,000 followers using an app called Bigo. Press here in my bio if you want to go live too. The video showed Alyssa crawling on all fours just like she was possessed. It turns out she was sleep crawling, so she went to therapy, but she really needs an exorcist.
Well, that's it for today. and thank you for subscribing. And this is all.